We've got a question there at microphone number 3, Spiro. I'm preempting the ANZ volunteer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much and very good afternoon. We're live here at the ANZ 2024 AGM. Chairman, I'd like to ask, and if I may ask Shane, we're hearing about closures of branches, but I'd like to ask on a positive side, are there new branches that you're opening in Australia and in New Zealand? If you'd be kind enough to answer that for our shareholders and our customers, please.
Sure. Yes, so while the total number of branches is pretty stable, what we're seeing is they're shifting, right? And so a lot of them are being refurbished and completely changed into what our new, it's called a breathe concept, so there's more, it's friendlier and it's a better place to go and have conversations and talk to people. So we have an ongoing reinvestment plan. There's not too many totally brand new ones, but there will be some as the population shifts, but mostly it's about refurbishing and making sure that they are appropriate for today, what customers want today.
Now, reverting back to the gentleman who his family was 45 years as a customer, could this be an idea that if, you know, with CBA, NAB and Westpac, if all of the banks are in an area and particularly may be able to lease or own a building and they all have their own little segment within that same branch, would that be something that could be helpful to minimise costs, but then the competition is there and the customer service is there?
Do you want me to answer that? It is an interesting idea. In fact, we've already done an experiment in New Zealand exactly along those lines. So in a little place called Twizel, where all of the banks, as a pilot or an experiment, got together and shared a branch. It worked okay. I mean, we're still experimenting there. Things like that, the ABA, the Australian Bankers Association, looks at all sorts of alternatives like that. It's not quite as, I'm not making excuses, not quite as simple as it sounds, because we're competitors as well. And so we're not allowed, as you would understand, we can't get the 4 banks in a room and just talk about anything we like. So
Understood.
But those sorts of ideas are absolutely being discussed by the industry where we can. But what are alternative ways of providing services, particularly in more remote, more difficult places to service? So yes, all of those things are on the table.
Well, I thought I'd like to come from a positive angle. If I can also highlight, as a ANZ customer and shareholder, over the last 35 years, I've actually introduced many customers to ANZ. More recently on the Sunshine Coast, there's one exceptional manager that I could say would be a great national trainer for all of your managers throughout Australia and New Zealand. That's Kevin Sagara. In just a matter of 18 months, 2 years, I've introduced Kevin to a number of personally introduced customers, and all they had to tell me was the praise, the assistance, the wonderful customer service from all the teams. And to show you how good Kevin is, the area managers asked Kevin, look, we need you at this branch to pick this up. And he's been moved around about 6 times to different branches, just to give you an indication on how good he is with his staff, his training, his likability and customer service. So I just wanted to share that point with you. Now, moving on to just another 2 little questions and then I'll wrap up. Now that we're on the process of Suncorp being put to bed, is ANZ on an acquisition mission for another bank at all in Australia?
One of the reasons that transaction was so important was that, and you heard the regulator say this, it was probably the last of the major acquisitions that could be done by one of the big 4. And so the regulator themselves have said that they're not very open or amenable to further acquisitions by one of the big 4. So I think it would be difficult within Australia to make an acquisition like that today.
Well, that's okay, and thank you for answering that. Thank you, Paul. Last point. As far as revenue that we can get the uplift and go past the $30, $35, $40, $50 in the future. In the 90s, I was privileged to have some training through a gentleman who worked very closely with a major bank overseas. And out of that came a feedback on trading title deeds, where they trade title deeds in the trading room internationally. That could be another revenue source for us and for ANZ, and also which would be an uplift for the shareholders, which is a bank instrument and trading, doing it back to back. Is that something that you're doing or something that you're looking at that could also help in the revenue of ANZ?
So it's not something we do today, but we're always open for new ideas, Spiro. So we're very happy to take that on notice and see what we can do.
Thank you, Shane.
Thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, Spiro. Thank you. And we'll make sure that feedback gets back to Kevin, I think it was, so he knows that he's being called out in a very positive way.